Radiation needed to begin within 8 weeks of surgery. Every week I delayed treatment, I would lose a 5% chance of surviving. I had been given a 15% chance of surviving 5 years. So there was no time to waste. The following day we had 2 appointments with 2 local radiation oncologists in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where we lived. They both said the same thing. A maximum dose of radiation to both sides of my neck because there was a 10% chance the cancer came over to the right. The difference between these 2 doctors was the equipment. One of them had a standard radiation machine, which is sort of like taking a can of paint and throwing it on a canvas. The other had IMRT, intensity modulated radiation therapy. It was targeted. It targeted the tumor site on my tongue, and because it came at all these different angles, it spared the normal tissues and glands in and around the area. Dr. Vigneri said to me, this new technology was able to block an area we didn't want radiated. He said he believed there was a less than 1% chance that the cancer came over to the right and then went up into my salivary gland. He said if we block this right salivary gland from being radiated, you'll produce saliva and you'll have a better quality of life. It's the first time I heard those words, quality of life. I thought, wow, that sounds great. I said to him, how many patients have you treated for oral cancer with this new technology? He said, Eva, to be quite honest with you, you would be my very first. Oh my God. But I vowed to give you the best care possible. I liked him. I trusted him. I learned that there were only 12 IMRT machines up and running in this country when I had treatment. And Dr. Vigneri in Allentown, Pennsylvania had one. Radiation's a burning process. I went into the hospital the next day, and the radiation therapist fitted me with a mask. It was so tight on my face that it left an impression on my skin for 30 minutes after treatment. It was sort of like a tennis racket. I knew it was the real thing when the radiation therapist bolted the mask down to the cable in 6 places. It was so tight. I mean, my eyes were shut closed. She left the room. The alarm went off alerting everyone radiation's about to be administered. And then the thick lead leaves of this machine began to open and close all around me. Sounded like gunshots. It didn't hurt on the outside, but my insides were crying in pain. Treatment for oral cancer is dehumanizing. I resisted the urge to gag, practicing deep breathing, meditation, anything to get through the treatments the first time. Dr. Vigneri said, Eva, the name of the game is calories. Forget what you've learned about healthy eating. Bulk up, you're going to lose weight, and you don't have a lot to lose. Milkshakes at every meal, and all the Haagen-Dazs I could eat. Good thing I'm not lactose intolerant. I gained 6 pounds the first week of radiation. I breezed through the second week, keeping up this optimistic attitude that it wasn't going to be so bad. Started the 3rd week, symptoms hit hard. Blisters lined my entire oral cavity and throat. The largest blister was under my tongue. It took me 20 minutes to consume 1 teaspoon of cream of wheat until I could tolerate the pain of another mouthful. I walked around my home with a spit cup in one hand and a washcloth dangling from my mouth so I wouldn't have to swallow my own saliva. I thought, radiation can't get worse than this. It did. Radiation made my tongue get stiff. It made choking more frequent. My vocal cords stopped vibrating. I lost my voice completely. And then, my saliva, it just got so thick and gluey. I would lie down to rest and I would awaken in this panic, unable to cough up the thick phlegm at the back of my throat, thinking this might be my very last breath. I learned very quickly I had to spend my nights upright, which I did, in my living room sofa downstairs with my head wedged between the 2 back pillows. And during these long, dark nights, I felt myself fear, pain, and a lot of loneliness. I thought radiation can't get worse than this. It did. Radiation made my epiglottis dry up. Loose saliva would drip into my trachea, triggering these severe coughing fits, causing the blisters in my mouth to open and bleed, and the only thing that would stop the coughing fits was the heat and steam of a hot shower. I was in and out of the shower throughout the day and throughout the night. I tried to keep my sanity while going through the insanity of treatments for oral cancer. I could barely eat, I could hardly sleep, I couldn't speak. But the one thing cancer didn't take from me was my ability to dream. My ability to dream about raising my children and being their mother many, many years down the road. My dream to eat all the food I wanted once again. I reached that deep, dark place where my dreams came to a halt. And that night, I wrote a note to my husband about where I wanted to be buried, what I wanted written on my tombstone. I felt it was something he shouldn't have to decide, one less thing. I wrote a letter to my children about my dreams and wishes for them, my pride and joy in them, my values that I hoped would live on. And the following day, I felt it was only fair to tell Dr. Vignari face to face about my decision. I sat down, and in my hoarse whisper, I said, "Okay." He rolled his chair back, he stood up, he put his hands on his desk, and he leaned in close to my face. And I'll never forget the words he spoke. He said, "Don't tell me you're quitting. This isn't a game that you quit, it's your lifeline strength." I stood up. I walked down the hallway and I took another treatment. And another one after that. Crying made my symptoms unbearable. I learned fast to control the tears. I fought ugly thoughts with pretty ones. I replaced all those unhappy endings with happy ones. I dreamed about my future. And this year I celebrate 25 years cancer-free.
Thank you everyone for bearing witness to all of these stories tonight. We're going to take a little break and come back in 10 minutes. Can someone tell me what 10 minutes would be? We'll come back at 9 p.m. for several more stories, and then we'll vote. You're welcome to use the bathroom. It's out those back doors. You're welcome to have a smoke of whatever you might have to smoke outside. And there are more baked goods and actually we've got the lights on, yes. So take a little break and come back for more. See you soon.